afternoon, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's English First Additional lesson. My name is Marina Seeley, and this lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Centre and broadcast by Pakama Research and Development. Today we'll be addressing the essay. A couple of weeks ago, a month ago to be exact, we had a lesson on the essay and we introduced the different kinds of essays and the do's and the don'ts associated with that. Let us recap the different types of essays quickly. The narrative essay, in other words, a story. The descriptive essay. Remember when we talked about the 5 senses that we need to employ and put that in words and create pictures with our words. The argumentative essay. Remember we said that the argumentative essay deals with an argument and that you have to take a specific point of view. The discursive essay, where you also discuss factual things, but you don't have to take a specific stand. You can discuss the pros and the cons of a specific topic. And then there's the reflective essay, where you kind of think about a situation or a person or an event and reminisce about it. Very descriptive as well, I should say. Just remember that an essay is seldom purely categorized as one type. Usually we have a combination of different types. So what makes an essay good? Let's recap. Selecting a topic that is right for you. Prior knowledge, your vocabulary. Obviously, proper planning. A striking introduction that would hook the reader to want to know more. Interesting content. The effective use of words, sentences, and punctuation. And obviously, a striking conclusion. Editing, very, very important. The last step before you submit your essay. And that requires rereading, correcting any language errors, spelling errors, concord errors that you might come across. So what can you expect from paper 3? I have taken the liberty of sharing with you a snapshot of last year's final exam paper for November 2021. And that is what it would look like. National Senior Certificate, grade 12, English First Additional Language, paper 3, November 2021. I want to move to the instructions. Very often, we ignore the first couple of pages and jump right into the questions and the topics. But grade 12 learner, it's very important that we stop here and just look at what you should be doing. Now, the instructions and information. Number 1 says the question paper consists of 3 sections. Section A, the essay for 50. Section B, longer transactional text for 30. Section C, shorter transactional text for 20. You are required to answer 1 question from each section. You have to write in the language in which you are being assessed, and you have to start each section on a new page. I want to stop there for a moment. When your question paper is marked at the end of the year, there will be 3 different markers. 1 for section A, 1 for section B, and 1 for section C. So it doesn't really matter which question you start with. Just make sure that each section is started on a new page. Number 5 says you must plan, for example, using a mind map, a diagram, a flow chart, keywords. You need to edit and proofread your work, and the plan must appear before each text. Now, don't make the mistake of writing your essay and then reversing it into your planning. We actually see when that happens because your final product will not be reflected in your planning. All planning must be clearly indicated as such and handed in. It is advisable to draw a line through all planning. That is also the moment where you can write the word rough draft for your first attempt. And if you do have time for a second attempt, please do not call it a final draft. A draft is just a tryout. So you would rather write the word final. Let's look at planning again. You brainstorm, writing down words, phrases, ideas as they come to mind. Some ideas may seem stupid. Write them down anyway. You will probably not use everything you have written down. Once you are done, you read through the notes and organize them into 3 to 4 main ideas. Each idea will become a paragraph. By now, you might also know what type of essay you want to write. You are now ready to start the introduction. Let's just quickly look at the different types of planning. First of all of us know that the planning mind map, and I quickly shared an image of what a mind map actually looks like. This is for right-brained people, your people who want to write things down very quickly and who do not really care about it being very neat. The second one is a flow chart, a little more organized. And then finally, notes. Many people prefer to just write random notes down and then sort through those for their final presentation. Number 7 of the instructions, yes, we are back to that. You are strongly advised to spend approximately 80 minutes on section A, 40 minutes on section B, and 30 minutes on section C. Now remember, today we are focusing on section A, the essay. Number the answers correctly according to the numbering system used in this question paper. That is also very important, so that the marker knows exactly which topic you have chosen. Give each response a suitable title or heading where required, but do not consider the title or the heading when doing a word count. And last but definitely not least, write neatly and legibly. So the topics for the November 2021 paper were question 1, there's another instruction. Write an essay of between 250 and 300 words in length on one of the following topics. Write down the number and title of the essay you have chosen correctly. For example, 1.1, Every Day is a Gift. Provide your own title if you choose question 1.7.1 or 1.7.2. We will get to them shortly. Spend approximately 80 minutes on this section. In your preparation, you should actually set a timer for 80 minutes and try and write an essay. Plan, pre-plan, brainstorm everything, your essay, and finish it within 80 minutes. Now, the topics included in 2021's paper were number 1.1, Every Day is a Gift. 1.2, When I Answered the Call. 3, If Only We Could Laugh More. 4, Natural Disasters. 5, Saving for the Future Must Start at a Young Age. 6, Do What is Right, Not What is Easy, nor what is popular. Now, when we look at these topics, ladies and gents, you will see that there's something for everyone. There is a factual one, natural disasters. Remember that you can interpret that as a narrative. You can also interpret that as an argumentative or discursive essay. Saving for the Future Must Start at a Young Age. this is also lends itself to people who actually know something about money and saving. For those of you who are into business studies and economics and all those subjects, they could actually do really well with this because they most probably have the vocabulary for it. Let us look at an essay. This is a real essay written by a learner from a school. When I answered the call, sometimes I wonder, why is my mother always avoiding to talk about my father? Why is she always ignoring conversations about him? Is he dead? Is he arrested? Did he leave us? I wonder what happened. Maybe my mother is just trying to protect us. Does this introduction grab your attention? Would you want to know more? The opening sentence hooks you into wanting to know more. The thought about wondering why the mother doesn't speak about the father. The reader may be able to relate to it. How effective is the row of rhetorical questions? We will have another look at the introductory paragraph. My question would be, could the writer have done it any differently? Now it is your turn. You need to read the opening paragraph again. Rewrite it so that it is even more effective. While you are at it, can you identify and correct any errors? You have 180 seconds starting now. And there we are, your 180 seconds, or 3 minutes for that matter, are up. So how did you find this exercise? Was it easy to identify errors? Was it easy to rewrite it or change it or edit it so that it would be more effective? It certainly is easier than trying to identify your own errors. But this is why we are doing this exercise. So let us look at the introductory paragraph. I have taken the liberty of highlighting all the language errors in this paragraph. So where you see it highlighted in yellow, those are the main errors. Let us read that together. Sometimes I wonder, why is my mother always avoiding to talk about my father? Why is she always ignoring conversations about him? Is he dead? Is he arrested? Did he leave us? I want you to quickly look at is and did and is again. Remember, when we write an essay, we need to decide what time we want to use. Are we going to use the present tense? Are we going to use the past tense? And then you must try to keep to that tense. Otherwise, it becomes really, really confusing. I wonder what happened. Maybe my mother is just trying to protect us. Now, I don't know what you wrote and how you changed it. This was my train of thought. Sometimes I wonder why my mother always avoids talking about my father. Why is she always ignoring conversations about him? Is he dead? Has he been arrested? Has he left us? Maybe my mother is just trying to protect us. Let's move on to the body of this essay. Expand on each of the ideas that you have selected. Each idea will be developed into a paragraph. Choose your words carefully to create interest or to paint pictures. Keep your sentence length in mind. Use punctuation effectively. Be careful of repetition. Let's read the body of this essay. Saturday morning, after a long sleep, waking up on the smell of my mother's breakfast, I had a cup of strong coffee next to my bed. My little sister is already up watching her favorite cartoon, Mr. Bean. You could tell she woke up early. I can hear my uncle snoring from my room. He slept late, as always. Good morning, my boy, says my mother. Hey, mother, I replied. Breakfast is ready, she said. My mother being kind as always. I drank my cup of coffee. After that, I went straight to the kitchen table. English breakfast on the wood table with my favorite juice, apple juice. My mother already made my day. What did the writer do right, and how could he improve on this paragraph? I've only selected one paragraph. I haven't selected the full essay, but I thought that this would be enough for us to look at possible ways in which we can improve or change or adapt what the writer has already written. He describes a typical morning. Waking up, coffee, breakfast at the table, the sound of family members, watching television, an uncle snoring in the room next door. Those are normal things, a typical morning. He uses his sense of sight. He does not talk about a table. He talks about a wooden table. He talks about a cup of coffee. He talks about apple juice, his favorite. And he also shares with us how he feels about his mother. So he focuses on his mother and what she does for him. It emphasizes the importance of her place in his life. What could he do to make it even more effective. He could use more senses, describe the smell of the coffee. How does that make him feel? Feel the sunshine on his skin. Those are all things that create pictures in the reader's mind. What could he add to link this writing to his father? Since in the opening paragraph, he mentions his father and the fact that he wonders about what happened to him. And that should actually become part of the body of the essay. So what can he write in the body of the essay? The writer could write about a memory of his father, no matter how vague, but something that he remembers about his father when he was still around. He could give more information about his life without his father in it. Remember, we live in a society where children very often have mothers and fathers, or just a father, or just a mother. And when a child is left with only one, they often wonder about the relationship with the other. And after all, a boy needs his father in his life. He could express his thoughts about what he and his father could do together if he were still in his life. This would create interest, and it would create an expectation from the reader. So now it's your turn. I want you to use some of the ideas that I discussed in the previous slide. Write 3 short paragraphs that might form the body of your essay. And for this, ladies and gents, we are going to take an 8-minute break. Remember to identify and correct any errors you see in the original body of the essay. Right, we are back online. I trust that you enjoyed this quick exercise and that you actually came up with quite a number of good ideas that the writer could have added to his essay to make it a star essay. Let us move to the conclusion of the same essay. I kept quiet for a while. My phone is ringing from my room. I stood up and went to my room. It's an unknown number. I wonder who is it? When I answered the call, it is him, my dad. I kept quiet for a while and dropped the phone. Let's read the conclusory paragraph again. I kept quiet for a while. My phone is ringing from my room. I stood up and went to my room. It's an unknown number. I wonder who is it? When I answered the call, it is him, my dad. I kept quiet for a while and dropped the phone. Is the conclusion what you expected it to be? Let us overlook any spelling error, any concord errors right at the second. Let's just look at the content. Does it actually complete the essay? Is it effective? You are going to rewrite the conclusion. Keep in mind that you may not introduce any new ideas. You have 5 minutes for that. Right, so we have quickly looked at the conclusion. Were you able to write your own conclusory paragraph? Let's take a look at what I did. I first analyzed the content that was already there. I kept quiet for a while. My phone is ringing in my room. I stood up and went to my room. It's an unknown number. I wonder who is it. When I answered the call, it is my dad. I kept quiet for a while and dropped the phone. Now, what I see in this conclusory paragraph is that there's a bit of a repetition, the repetition of the word room very often. And I don't quite get the atmosphere that this writer wants to create. He wants to create expectation because we need to know who's on the other side of the line on his phone. I have yet again taken the liberty of highlighting common errors that should not be there. First of all, concord errors. We also have tense errors. I kept quiet for a while, kept past tense, and then all of a sudden the next one is in the present tense, is ringing from my room. The fact that he's using a continuous tense is not the problem. I stood up. What could be a better word for stood be? I stood up. And I went to my room. It's an unknown number. Now, it's has a double problem. First of all, we should try and avoid contractions in creative writing since it's formal writing. So he should have written, it is an unknown number, and then it should not be it is. It was an unknown number. Remember that we keep the tense in the same time. I wondered who it was. When I answered the call, it was him, my dad. Past tense. Last line, I kept quiet for a while and dropped the phone. I took the liberty of using what the candidate or the writer included and just shuffled them about a little. See what I got up with. It's also important to share with your friends how you would have changed that. Because remember, every one of us has a different thought process, and some are better writers than others, and that is fine. That is really not a problem. Sharing your ideas and how you've changed it actually helps you to develop as a writer. And it might just give that edge to your friend. So here goes my moment. I was quiet for a while. The silence was broken by my phone ringing in my bedroom. I got up to answer it. It was an unknown number. I wondered who it could be. When I eventually answered the call, it was him, my dad. I was quiet for a while and then dropped the phone. So you see, I have included the gist of what the writer was trying to say. I've just spruced it up a little. I took some repetition out and I just kind of polished it up with the tenses and the language. And that is something that you can do. And that is something that you should focus on when you are editing your own work. Remember, you are not going to edit someone else's in the exam. That will be your indaba. You are going to have to correct your own errors. And you know what? It's difficult to see an error in yourself or in your work. It's very much like a mother who believes that her little crow is a swan. We find it difficult to identify errors in things that we produce. But it's important to make our writing even better. And the more aware you become of any problem areas, the easier it gets. I want to move on to a second essay, and this one was this discursive essay, the one on natural disasters. So let's read the introductory paragraph. As we know it, the earth is a big place. As we know that it is a continuously rotating. Geographers tend to call natural disasters as the movement of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface. Now, when I look at the introductory paragraph, apart from any language errors that makes it quite difficult to understand and put things together, I can actually assume that this student or this candidate knows something about geography because he or she mentions the tectonic plates or the movement of the tectonic plates underneath the earth. So we can assume that there is vocabulary that this person could use, and therefore this essay would have been a good choice for him or her. I want us to read the first sentence of this essay again. As we know it, the earth is a big place. As we know that it is continuously rotating, geographers tend to call natural disasters as the movement of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface. The first question, my first question, does it hook the reader? Does it hook you into wanting to know more? Why or why not? Now, the first thing that I see when I look at the introductory paragraph is that it is one long sentence. It is too long. You have lost me and the importance and the hook and the punch in the first line. The writer repeats the phrase, as we know it, twice in the first line. We need to eradicate that. Capital letters are used incorrectly in the middle of a sentence. Just a quick reminder, when do we use capital letters? When a word appears at the beginning of a sentence, when we name people, places, and institutions, ideas that have specific names. In other words, we call them proper nouns. We would use a capital letter. I'm sure that the writer of this essay wanted to emphasize certain words, and for that reason, those words were capitalized. But the fact of the matter remains, it is still incorrect. Let us rewrite the opening paragraph, removing the repetition and correcting the punctuation. Would you add anything to the introduction? You have 180 seconds, 3 minutes, and go. Let us take a closer look. As we know it, the Earth is a big place. As we know it, it is continuously rotating. Geographers tend to call natural disasters as the movement of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface. Now, as introductories go, this is quite messy. Apart from the fact that the sentence is too long, or the paragraph is one single sentence, and there are many capital letters, it also doesn't really make sense. It's like the writer has two ideas: the fact that the Earth is a big place and that it's continuously rotating, and then all of a sudden it kind of jumps over to geographers who talks about natural disasters. So it's like a jump from the one to the other, but it doesn't really make that much sense. So we need to do something about that. First of all, the Earth is a big place that is continuously rotating. We can extend this and add some meat to it. You can add tone, atmosphere, by referring to the Earth as how you actually experience it, or how you feel about it. Now, since we are all Earth dwellers, I'm sure that we love the Earth we live on, because it is our home. It is the way that we survive. So why not add tonal words or atmosphere to bring that across to the reader before you jump right into the technical business? So let's extend it. The Earth is a big round ball that continuously rotates on its own axis. Now, I've included all the information that was already given, but rather than saying it's a big place, it's like describing your flat or your house or a hotel unit. What are we referring to? We are referring to the Earth. So what does it look like? It is a big round ball that continuously rotates on its own axis. Now that gives us more information, and it becomes technical gradually. As it moves, it creaks, and the Earth's core shifts. Now, please understand me clearly. I am not into geography. I do not have the technical know-how or the vocabulary. So if I have made factual error, that is okay. But the idea that I want to bring across is the fact that it needs to paint a picture. You can almost see the Earth as an old woman or an old man creaking along and shifting from side to side. Next part of the introduction is all about the facts. Geographers tend to call natural disasters the movement of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface. It gives a lot of information, but let us try and pull it apart a little and extend it a little so that we can get to the topic of natural disasters. Geographers explain that this is caused by the movement of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface. That, together with the changes in weather, causes natural disasters. As I said, I am not technical about geography, but I'm technical about the language. So these two little bits and pieces we can put together as the main introduction. Philosophers explain natural disasters as Mother Nature's response to human behavior. Regardless of what they are, natural disasters are devastating. They come in different shapes and forms. You'll see that I've added a couple of more things to the introduction so that I have something to work with in my paragraphing. And for that, I want to move over to the planning. What will the planning for this essay look like? Sorry about that. Gross Concord error. Now, in paragraph 1, the writer could discuss the different types of natural disasters. In the rest of the essay that I haven't shared with you, the person actually included all the different kinds of natural disasters, which is good. And she or he can extend on that. I want to now focus on the paragraphing, how you would actually go about planning what would you put in every paragraph so that it's not repetitive and so that it actually makes sense. You would also include where they happen. In the original essay, the writer spoke about the densely populated areas of China and Japan, Asia, in other words, where we know we have quite a number of natural disasters. You can also talk about the Americas, where natural disasters uh, actually appear more often. Luckily, we are in the southernmost point of Africa, and we don't really get that many natural disasters. Although, if we look at what has been happening the last couple of years, it has definitely escalated even in South Africa. But the writer can, in paragraph 1, actually be very factual, share ideas about where they happen, what they are, and the devastation they leave behind. The second paragraph could be about what causes natural disasters. And there, this person can use all the technical vocabulary that he or she has. I have included a couple of those. Sorry about that little cough. Pollution, erosion, the effect on human life. You can also refer to pollution and habits of human beings. There's so much around these days about the use of plastic, and awareness that we should actually use less plastic. The oceans that are congested with plastic, and that the animal life is dying out because of that. Paragraph 3. You can include how natural disasters can be predicted before they happen. You can also include how to prepare for natural disasters. Like we have bomb shelters in times of war. Many people in disaster-stricken areas where natural disasters occur naturally will have shelters where they hide. And those shelters are usually equipped to the brim with whatever they might need for a couple of weeks. Let us look at the conclusion of that same essay. Let's read the conclusion. Though there are ways of counteracting or predicting any events of natural disasters, some hit home as they may occur unexpectedly. And then there's a couple of words that I don't quite get, as the while has been linked. I get the idea they have been linked with high numbers of casualties. Just like we all feel like we can explode when we are irritated or frustrated, that is exactly how philosophers describe the rage of Mother Nature when natural disasters occur. Does it round off the essay? Does it actually engulf everything that the writer wanted to say? Yes, I know you didn't have the rest of the body of the essay, but if you think about the introductory paragraph, does it actually close up and complete the circle? I would say that the essay actually ends well. I'm not thinking about any grammar errors, language errors, or anything like that. I'm just looking at the raw material I have, and the idea that the writer had makes sense to me. The writer touches on the effects of natural disasters. He adds a deeper or figurative meaning at the end. There's a bit of a comparison or a similarity between the earth and the reaction of the earth and the way we would react when we are irritated and frustrated. So there is an attempt to bring into it something deeper, something that we as readers can actually associate with. I want you to rewrite it, correcting all the errors and removing any kind of repetition. It says you have 5 minutes, but I think we had better make it 8. So you have 8 minutes to rewrite this conclusory paragraph. Right, we are back into action. I have a question for you. Is it becoming a little easier the more you do this, the more you look at paragraphing and see how you can change it, make it your own perhaps, improve on the basic errors, change things? It should, and with more practice comes perfection. The next type of question would be a response to pictures. Now I'm back to the NSC question paper 3 of 2021. 1.7 says choose one of the following pictures and write an essay on a topic that comes to mind. Write the question number 1.7.1 or 1.7.2 and give your essay a suitable title. Notice there must be a clear link between your essay and the picture you have chosen. Now, 1.7.1 looks like lots of dancing going on there, exuberance. I can think about tons of words that would actually describe that picture. The second one is a robot. Remember, you can interpret the picture any way you like, but there must be a clear link between your essay and the picture. Let's read the introductory paragraph in an essay on 1.7.2. You see, the writer wrote, or the candidate wrote 1.7.2, and then also the title line. It's very important so that the marker knows exactly what topic he or she is dealing with. Now, the first error that this candidate makes is to add final draft. As I said right at the beginning, you can't write a final draft. It's a first draft and then a final, or if you want, a final presentation. But let's not waste any more time. There once was a little robot with a dream. Not your ordinary dream. This robot wants to change the future. Ever since Robot showed his first form of movement, he knew he had the destiny to do amazing things. So how can we improve on this introductory paragraph or paragraphs? There once was a little robot with a dream, not your ordinary dream. This robot wants to change the future, was and once highlighted because there's a tense or a time error there. Second one, ever since Robot showed his first form of movement, he knew he had the destiny to do amazing things. This is a fair introduction. It creates interest, and I could almost see it as a children's story. The first two paragraphs could be combined to form the introductory paragraph. Try to keep the tense the same. There once was a little robot with a dream. Not your ordinary dream. This robot wanted to change the future. Ever since Robot showed the first signs of movement, he knew he had the destiny to do amazing things. In paragraph 1, you could actually combine these paragraphs into one. He remembered the day he got his first home. He remembered all his chores to clean the house and to serve the humans. He remembered the kind words he received and those hateful words, the way humans thought robots will destroy everything. After a while, the little robot did not enjoy serving humans anymore. One day, he faked a short circuit, and they dumped him at the nearest scrapyard. We could actually combine those two paragraphs into one. You can edit any language errors you might find there. You have 3 minutes for that. Right, we are back. Was that a good exercise? Can you improve on the paragraphing in paragraph 2 and 3? Let's go back to paragraph 2. After a few weeks, someone bought him. He thought he would end up being another servant, but he got a few upgrades, from a little servant to a robot who will control the gates of his states. He was excited for the new stage of his life, but after a few days, he lost excitement. This paragraph, in paragraph 2 and 3, showed development. All he ever wanted was to be more helpful. He began to dream about his future, the way he will be able to control everything in human homes, and one day maybe even talk with them. He dreamed about being helpful and that humans can rely on him. So you see that this writer actually included a little humanity, who wants to make the robot more human. He also dreamed about how humans and robots will change the future and how they will live in harmony. The reader wants to know if his dream actually came true. So in that instance, this is quite effective. Let us look at the conclusion. A conclusion is mostly effective. The final lines suggest a bright future, but the end can be improved. A little person picked up his pieces. He smiled and hugged the robot tightly. The little robot was confused. Little did he know that he had a bright future ahead and that his dreams would come true in the hands of this new friend. The introduction of the child creates the resolution that the reader might want because it gives more information and brings clarity. Just a general recap of what a conclusion should be. The conclusion brings the essay full circle. It binds the essay into a unit. Be careful not to introduce a new idea or give a moral lesson or force an end. Then I woke up. It was all a dream. So what have you learned today? What a paper 3 looks like? You realize that planning is key. You also learned that sentence length really matters and that editing is an important part of the essay writing process. Oh yes, and do not write final draft. Rather write final or final presentation. Just a quick recap about the structure. A well-structured essay, remember, is like a sumptuous sandwich. It has a strong introduction, striking ideas, good vocabulary, a variety of sentences, and a good conclusion. Editing is to revise, edit, and proofread. Check your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Does every paragraph contain one main idea? Is the format correct? Check that it is the correct length. Check if there is an introduction, a strong one that would hook the reader. Check that you have expanded the ideas in the body. Check that there is a conclusion, a strong one. Remember that fresh sandwich. Common mistakes that writers make would be to misinterpret the topic when you read the topic and you write about something totally different because you actually memorized a pre-existing essay and you kind of squash it so that it fits into this topic. That is a big, big no-no, and try and avoid that. Switching tenses. We looked at 3 essays today, and all 3 of them actually share the same problem, where the present and the past are bounced around, and that causes a little bit of confusion for the reader. The length of the essay. Remember, the more you write, the more mistakes you make. So a 3-page essay, it's a bit too long. And then you actually penalize yourself, because the more you write, obviously, the more chances of making errors. So try and keep the length within the 250 to 300 limit. And if you write 10 more or 10 less, that's not the end of the world. No climax. Oh my word. You know, if you read an essay and it just keeps going and going and going, but there's no real purpose. It's like somebody has written this just to finish up the 300 words that they need to use. Make sure that in your planning phase, you have a definite build up of tension or build up of information. We also call it development, so that it gets to a point and we can actually resolve the issue. It's very important, and that keeps the interest. It's like watching a boring movie. If there is no clear development, it becomes boring, and that's when you fall asleep. A boring essay. I woke up and it was all a dream. Or I woke up and my coffee was cold. Please don't force an essay ending like that. It's really not good for everything that you've done. You've put so much effort and work into it, and then it falls flat on its face. If the introduction is too long, if you put the whole essay and all the information that you are sharing into the first introductory paragraph, why write the rest of the essay or write the rest of the paragraph? Loose ends. That is when you introduce an idea in paragraph 1. Think about the person who wrote about the absence of his father. He writes about it in the introductory paragraph. He doesn't mention it in the second one. There is a slight mention in the third one. And then in his final conclusory paragraph, he just mentions that it's his dad on the phone. But there's no development there. I would suggest that you actually grab that line or that line of thinking and draw it through so that it becomes clear and create interest. My top tips are still the same. Write as though you have something to say, not only for marks. Use your imagination. You might just surprise yourself. Be original. I mentioned the fact that teachers are avid readers and moviegoers, so try and be original. An element of surprise goes a long way. Keep an open mind. Keep it simple. Do not use vocabulary that seems impressive if you can't use it properly. You won't get higher marks. We would just find it more difficult to understand when we mark it. Timekeeping is extremely important. I refer you to the instruction page, and remember, for any question paper that you might write, you have to read the instruction page carefully because it will tell you what to do. It says section A, the essay, you should spend about 80 minutes on the planning and the writing of that. So practice that so that you are prepared and not caught off guard when you are writing your prelims or your finals. The last one is extremely important. Write neatly and clearly. I know that when you are pressed for time, you kind of write fast and then it becomes a little illegible. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying write as clearly as you can. Write as neatly as you can. Remember, leave open a line between every paragraph. You need to make the marker want to mark it, and you need to make the marker want to give you extra marks, because that is ultimately what you are writing this for. I would like to thank you for watching this lesson. And if you were taking part in a 400 meters race, you are about halfway. Hang in there. Keep it tight. Practice hard. Do your work. Remember to sleep enough. You are almost there. Don't lose hope and sight now. Thank you for watching this lesson. Please remember to sanitize, wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and keep safe. See you next time. Bye-bye.